Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of the Daily Debate. In tonight's show, we're going to be focusing on Egypt receiving the first batch of the coronavirus vaccine from China. It's the Chinese coronavirus vaccine that Egypt will be receiving and will be discharged to the citizens free of charge. We're going to be looking at that first of all. We're also going to be looking at how this will affect the tourism sector. Now, the tourism sector has been quite active over the past year, actually, as well. The Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities is renowned for its recent discovery of the mummies in Saqqara. We're going to be focusing on that and the efforts exerted by the ministry to really refreshen and strengthen the vital sector for the Egyptian economy. But before we do that, let's check out some of the stories making the news today. And we'll start off with President Abdel al-Sisi, who stressed today that upgrading the national industries should be considered the ongoing strategic objective for the state, notably in the construction field. The president pointed out two big opportunities presented by ongoing and future comprehensive development efforts, citing the Egyptian countryside project that aims to create 1,000 villages across the nation. The head of state also highlighted wider promising opportunities for regional housing and construction projects, given the rising need of neighboring countries for building and construction material produced in Egypt. The remarks were made as the president met with Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli and several ministers and top officials over mechanisms to tackle the challenges facing the upgrade of certain sectors. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli also today presided over a meeting to follow up the development process in provincial capitals and major cities, as well as projects to revive ancient Cairo. During the meeting, he directed to speed up the transfer of jurisdiction of certain pieces of land that will be used for development projects, highlighting the importance of pursuing development projects in ancient Cairo. Madbouli said the targets revolve around upgrading open areas, illuminating pavements and lighting, preparing banners, providing tourism, culture and social services, as well as enhancing the environment through the management and recycling of solid waste. Egypt won a seat at the United Nations Committee for Building Peace for an additional year after securing the larger number of votes at elections held in the UN General Assembly. Egypt's UN Permanent Representative, Ambassador Mohammed Idris, said this re-election is a testimony of the country's peace-building role and reflects the international community's confidence in Egypt's contributions in this regard. Idris stressed that the country is determined to continue persistent efforts to upgrade peace-building structures in the UN and to secure the needed support for countries passing through post-dispute difficulties, notably in Africa. And the Presidential Advisor for Health and Prevention Affairs, Dr. Mohammed Awad Taghiddin, confirmed on Tuesday that the state will only allow the use of coronavirus vaccines that have been authorized and have proven effectiveness and that are considered safe in confronting the spread of COVID-19. Speaking at a press conference, Taghiddin said the Higher Committee for Combating the Coronavirus is monitoring and following up the performance of vaccines through monitoring mechanisms. He noted that all vaccines have been registered as emergency, adding that international authorities are monitoring the side effects until now. Dr. Taghiddin stressed that any vaccine, whatever it is not enough and that people should abide by precautionary measures, affirming that, like any medicine in the world, it could have its side effects. He reiterated that Egypt will resort to various sources, adding that the National Research Center is working to reach an Egyptian vaccine and will announce it when it reaches final and clear outcomes. These were the main stories making the news today, but now let's go check out this report regarding Egypt receiving the first batch of the Chinese coronavirus vaccine that is set to be provided to the citizens free of charge. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
Egypt has received the first batches of the Chinese coronavirus vaccine. The shipment from Chinese state-owned pharmaceutical giant Sinopharm landed at Cairo's international airport from the United Arab Emirates late on Thursday, and the country will be getting more deliveries soon. Health Minister Hala Zaid and diplomat from China and the United Arab Emirates were at the airport to greet the shipment. During a press conference at the airport, Minister Zaid said that the new Chinese vaccine would be available for citizens 100% free of charge as part of the directives of the political leadership. Minister Zaid added that the coronavirus vaccine developed by the Chinese state-owned pharmaceutical giant Sinopharm has been approved and provided by the United Arab Emirates and has a 96% to 100% efficiency in mild and severe cases. Zaid confirmed that the priority in distributing the coronavirus vaccine would be for medical staff, people with chronic diseases and the elderly, according to the directives by the World Health Organization. According to the COVID-19 Resilience Ranking report issued by Bloomberg in November, Egypt is one of the highest-ranking countries in signing vaccine supply agreements. Egypt submitted an application to obtain COVID-19 vaccines from COVAX, a scheme led by Gavi Alliance designed to secure rapid and fair global access to COVID-19 vaccines. Cabinet spokesman Nader Saad said that Egypt is expected to receive doses of one of Gavi's coronavirus vaccines in May of 2021. Minister Zaid stated earlier that Egypt had reserved doses of a potential coronavirus vaccine developed by the U.S. pharmaceutical corporation Pfizer, which would cover up to 20% of the country's needs. She emphasized that Egypt had also secured doses of the promising British vaccine developed by Oxford University that will meet around 30% of the country's needs. In September, Russia's Sovereign Wealth Fund agreed to supply 25 million doses of the potential COVID-19 vaccine to Egypt via Farco, one of Russia's leading pharmaceutical groups. The Sinopharm vaccine has also been approved for emergency use in few countries, and the company is still conducting late-stage clinical trials in 10 nations.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and now we're joined here in the studio by Dr. Yahia Abdel, the Touristic Council. Dr. Abdel, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Doctor, now everyone is following up, obviously, the coronavirus and the vaccines. Different countries are obtaining it, and Egypt is set to obtain the Chinese coronavirus vaccine. A lot of countries are imposing their own restrictions regarding travel bans and quarantine and lockdowns.
Yes. Yeah.
So far, because tourism is such an integral sector for the Egyptian economy and our culture as a whole. Now, how far are we being affected by this new wave of restrictions and quarantines and lockdowns?
Well, really, like the IATA and the World Travel and Tourism Council worldwide, and the UN, WTO, United Nations World Tourism Organization, Madrid, all of, the formal organizations and associations worldwide has indicated that global tourism, went down by 80% of airline traffic, cargo, destinations, cruise line, has been locked down and shut down, since February of this year, early February, March. So really, it's a global, recession for travel and tourism, for arrivals and departures, and for example, hotel occupancies and revenues. A large number of pilots, have been laid off. Same thing, happening to hotels. I mean, there are worldwide, many properties have been shut down. So there is lots of damage, but in Egypt, thank God, we've been following the regulations of the WHO, as we have seen since May, since we started receiving, chartered flights, from Serbia, from Ukraine, from France, from Switzerland, from Austria, Hungary, and Montenegro. lots of countries has been flying to Qadir and Sharm el-Sheikh, and like Marsa Alam, because these results has been secured and highly quarantined. So thank God, and the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities has been following up on the premises nationwide for the Nile cruises, for the restaurants, for the resorts, and at least now we have like 1,000 hotels that has been certified and sanitized, and they check up on the staff regularly and train them and follow up on the hygiene and sanitation regulations on daily basis.
Yes. Well, Doctor, some countries have already started dispatching the vaccination campaigns, in the UK, in the US. Now, the whole world, the stock markets, the global stock markets have responded positively with the emergence of the emergency coronavirus vaccines.
Yes.
What about the tourism sector all over the world? The travel agencies, are they starting to book more tours, book more flights? How are they responding to the news of the emergence of the vaccines?
Well, really, like the vaccines, came like as a great blessing, after, like all this, like periods and of doubts and, hesitation and recession that we've been experiencing. Because we went on for this pandemic for about 6-7 months with no defense line, So, but since, this global, like pharmaceuticals has been experimenting and coming up with solutions. So if you look at the stock market, you see the surge, has been on global basis. And the travel, like in the US, for example, like Thanksgiving, it's like a national holiday.
Yes.
So apart from, like the pandemic, like there was high traffic, like on airlines and coaches and motorways and like nationwide. So there was a revival. And then again, like in this month, we have, like Christmas and New Year. So again, like there's going to be festivities, but many countries, as the European Council, for example, like Germany, France, Italy, they've been, like imposing restrictions. They don't want people to celebrate and party and get up, like in groups, and then when they wake up the other day, like they got infected and, like they go through all this, like tragic repercussions. So there is limitations, but the vaccine has improved the morale physically and morally, and this is going to be reflected on the movement of travel. As you already mentioned, there is a surge, limited surge, like in the booking for destination and resorts. And in Egypt, like French tourists, for example, they love to come to Egypt to Luxor and Aswan during the Christmas and New Year holidays. And just they are waiting for the scheduled flights because they don't like to fly on charter flights. And we have local, like we have the local travelers, like they go to resort, spend the New Year, they go to Marsa Alam, Sharm el-Sheikh, El-Gona, and Luxor and Aswan for the holidays. So hospitality industry in Egypt, like has seen, like a slight increase in booking and movement, and just like to upgrade, like and make the local market flourish, like, I mean, until, like everything is settled down. And then we will be expecting shortly, inshallah, by spring, like the resurrection, like of the two groups again.
Yes. Dr. Abdel, now, Egypt is obviously known for being a touristic destination all year round. Now, the winter season as well is quite an attraction for the rest of the international world. Now, as you've mentioned, it is Christmas time, New Year's Eve. Do you think that even if there are sort of restrictions and lockdowns in different European countries, does this allow us to have more of a market maybe in Asia, maybe through the Gulf, maybe the Americas, South America? Are we able to attract different markets other than the European market that maybe don't have as strict of a restriction?
Well, really, the Dr. Khalid and his crew, like really are working hard and to develop, like new markets and to revive the old ones, like through, like many techniques for marketing and promotion and digital, like spread out. So really this has been experiencing, and last week, like Miss Ghada Shalab, like the Vice Minister, she was visiting Croatia you know, like Albania and Serbia. And these are new markets because really we didn't used to get, you know, like groups from Central Europe, you know, like Montenegro and all these parts of the world. So now we're starting having chartered flights because it's accessible. It's only 4 hours flight away, you know, like from the destinations. And, you know, like we have a mild weather, we have the culture. And look recently, you know, like how many new museums we've been opening, you know, like Gara and Sharm el-Sheikh and the royal carriages, you know, like, and even in Kafr el-Sheikh as well. So with the build up of tourism in a diversity, so this attracts groups, especially when they come on chartered flight basis. It's moderate and, you know, like affordable for the middle class tourists, you know, like who are in the European Union.
Doctor, now it seems that the coronavirus really hit the whole world, but right now with the second wave, a lot of countries went through their restrictions, which affected their tourism sector. Now, how are we comparing ourselves, our sector, to the other tourist destinations? Who are main competitors? How far are we ahead? Because it seems that with all the touristic destinations, places like the US maybe, or France, or different parts of Europe that have been hard hit,
Definitely,
it gives us maybe a bigger chance to establish or re-establish ourselves as a main touristic destination.
Exactly.
Who are our main competitors and how far are we compared to the rest?
Well, regionally, you know, like we are in the Mediterranean and we are in the Red Sea and we are in Africa as well. So our, you know, like traditional competitors, you know, like they are Greece, Turkey, Dubai, you know, like these are the major, you know, like the closest, you know, like competitors for us that, you know, like get a slice of the market share. So, but I've been reviewing reports last week, you know, like, and hotel occupancies, you know, like for example in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, they coming back to normal because of the holidays, and you like the offers that they are making, you know, like for the discounted airlines, you can fly, you know, like half price, and you can take the first night, you know, like affordable, free as well, complimentary. So all these, you know, like marketing gimmicks, you know, like that you apply from time to time are attracting. For example, Cyprus, we're offering, you know, like the first night free, you know, like, and 50% on airline discounts. Egypt Air starting applying this, you know, like they have up to 40 and 50% discounts on long haul and long routes, you know, like from the US and Europe and Asia. So, you know, like the industry, you know, like have to adapt, you know, like to, you know, like the unexpected circumstances that we're experiencing currently. That's why, you know, like resorts, hotels, lodging, and airlines are, you know, like applying techniques to reduce the cost of the trips. That's why, you know, like all these destinations, as I'm giving you an example of, you know, like the United Arab Emirates, as faring well. But other markets, you know, like Greece is a summer resort, you know, like. So, I mean, like it's not going to attract people until like April or like early March, you know, like. So really, and Turkey as well, you know, like it's year round, but expect it draws more tourists, you know, like in the summer than in the winter because of the climate change and all this impact. So really, as a destination, we are year round, you know, like open. We have fair weather, summer and winter and the fall. But currently, you know, like I think Dr. Anani, you know, like has to sit with the tour operators to come up with packages, you know, like what Dubai is doing, and that's now they have, you know, like nearly, you know, like room occupancies as prior to the pandemic, you know, like that hit us all.
Yes.
So we need to apply new techniques, you know, like and apply digital, you know, like marketing and promotion to attract more and act vigorously. As we've seen, you know, like Dr. Anani, he travels, you know, like to Europe, and his deputy, and we have to invigorate, you know, like our tourist offices that has been. We used to have 4 tourism offices in the U.S. Now we don't have none. That means like the Americas, North, Central, and South America, we don't have anyone to promote and market for tourism. And this is like 30% of all the travel comes from the Americas.
Yes.
So this is one strategic, element has to be considered to draw more visitors, inshallah.
And who is it really up to the most? Is it really down to the government and the ministry and doing all the facilitations for the tour operators and the travel agencies, or is it really it comes down to the work and the effort exerted by the private sector? Is it a balance of both, or someone needs to make more of an effort?
Well, it's joint. Actually, it is jointly, endeavor, of both teams, because the government, it is to its benefit to generate, foreign exchange, and this comes through the Suez Canal, workers' remittances, exports, and tourism. So they have to consider this, on a strategic level, and the private sector, if they don't generate business, they will be facing troubles. Some hotels, like in Sharm el-Sheikh, they have been closed down, a big change. So the government has to foresee, what's going on, and to we have around 4 million people, work in hospitality in Egypt, and you have seen the government is making, social funds for them, for nearly 1 year, supporting them, tour guides and hotel operators and all of them. So really we have to act, vigorously and aggressively as well, to market and open, new venues. The team, of Dr. Anan is excellent, but this is time of emergency, we need to double, triple our efforts, and we have to consider, our tourist office in New York was established in the early 50s. That's about, nearly a century now, 70 years. So we don't have one representation, to draw. We need at least to attract, 200,000 visitors from the U.S. I mean, as a single market, not including the Latin America and Canada. So we have to consider this again. I mean, social media and campaigns and promotions and all this, world agencies. It's excellent, but you need to have someone on the ground. For example, the UAE, the Arab Emirates, they have nearly 50 representative offices worldwide. So nearly in Egypt, we have 10 or 15. So this is your marching cavalry, to get you more land and territory and to generate business. I mean, you are not going to promote tourism, in Cairo, Alexandria, or Sharm el-Sheikh. To do it, to have to move to the generating market, and all these markets are outside Egypt.
And why don't we have this sort of representation on the ground? I mean, how hard is it? Because we do join and establish tourism exhibitions all over the world. Why don't we have the representatives in the US, for instance?
At one time, we used to have offices in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Montreal. Now, I don't know, who came up with this decision to shut them down. I mean, this is your lifeline. I mean, there is some kind of basic fallacy in Egypt that if they want to save, so they're going to cut marketing funds. So then you're not selling anymore. If a company, you produce textile and you don't have salesmen on the road. So it's going to buy your product, you produce, you don't sell. So that's why experiencing now. We don't have one single office in 1/3 of the world economy, the US is 25% world economy, and plus Canada and Latin America, 33 countries. So we are absent of this market, but I worked in Los Angeles and there was 50 foreign government offices. The budget of these offices could account to 3 million a year. I mean, our budget was less than that, but some of the offices had 34 people working in one office.
Do you feel, Doctor, that maybe social media and the internet can actually replace having people on the ground? Because everyone's doing everything online now. The meetings, the work, the shopping, everything's being done online.
Well, this is definitely true, but you still, for example, you have the MICE, the meetings, the incentives, the conventions, conferences, and exhibitions.
Yes.
These, may fade away according to the stringent, emergencies we have now, but there's going to be a revival, they're going to come back. The ITB, WTM, the ATM, Arab Travel Market in Dubai. So they're going to resurrect again, and you generate business, but you go on for 4 days or 1 week. But you need to have like someone in the field, like 24. I've been contacting tourist offices worldwide, like in Switzerland, in Germany, and they have like on hold 24-hour. You call, and 24-hour, like 7, at every single moment, someone's going to talk to you, chat with you, telling you what time you want to come, what kind of preferences, what are, hobbies and destination and sports. We don't have this. So this is one thing missing, because, like we still do like the classic school, promote and advertise, but should be like one-on-one. This is one thing we need to do. I mean, I went to Ras Al Khaimah once visiting the tourism promotion office, and it looks like, like a satellite, like agency. You have like 20, 30 people, and they are on the phones talking all the time. And even after working hours, you'll be in contact, like online, like with customers. We need to do this. And then we need to emulate, like what the Emirates is doing, which came like many years after us in tourism promotion. You need to have someone in the ground, because like they have to attend meetings, media, movies, fashion shows, everything social going on, and participate and promote and bring, like media, like sports, like the regular promotional work, and to invite tour operators, like, and as we have been doing like some time ago, we need like to build an aggressive and a bold marketing strategy to revive and regain business, inshallah, shortly when this settles down.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as Dr. Abdel mentioned as well, Egypt has a lot to offer, especially as well in the cultural side of tourism. And Egypt has been known for its archaeological discoveries, the antiquities, the national treasures it has for thousands of years. Now, Egypt's archaeological discoveries in Sahara, the discovery of the mummies, has been chosen as one of the most important discoveries for the year 2020. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
The Minister of Tourism and Antiquities announced the discovery of at least 100 ancient coffins and 40 gilded statues of Saqqara goddess Plat Soqar in Egypt's Saqqara. The discovery was displayed during the makeshift exhibit at Step Pyramid of Zofsa al-Sa'ara, where they also carried out an X-raying to show the structures of the ancient mummy and how it was preserved. 100 sealed wooden coffins more than 2,500 years old, 40 wooden statues, a number of statues and amulets, 4 golden funerary masks, and also part of Sa'ara's big discovery. Minister of Tourism and Antiquities Khalid Al-Anani said that this will not be the last discovery in Sa'ara and that more will be following. The minister described it as a great discovery in 2020, but added that this would not be the last one, as Egypt has discovered only 1% of the antiquities buried in the Sa'ara area. He said the coffins would be distributed among the Cairo Museum in Tahrir, the Grand Egyptian Museum, and the National Museum of the Egyptian Civilization. In September, another discovery in Sa'ara, southwest of Cairo, has yielded 14 intact and sealed, estimated to be 2,500 years old. The coffins are made of wood and still retain some of the original color. The Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities has published a series of videos testing the footage of the discoveries, in the most recent of which Minister Khalid Al-Anani declared that this is only the beginning. In a video published earlier this month, Waziri, the world's renowned Egyptologist Zahi Hawass, also show a few shots of the colorful, newly unearthed discoveries. The Antiquities magazine has chosen Egypt's discovered mummies in Sa'ara as one of the 10 best discoveries in the world during the year of 2020. It has chosen the coffins to be its cover in January-February edition in 2021.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Continuing our discussion with Dr. Abdel. Doctor, now the discovery of the mummies in Sa'ara has been really hailed as one of the most important discoveries of 2020. It's been all over social media. How significant because we already have loads of national treasure and antiquities and archaeological discoveries. Now, this even enriches us more. How
Yes.
can we actually use this? You've been talking about having a bold, brave marketing strategy.
Yes.
How can we use this to really gain ground and get a bigger slice of the sector?
Well, really, I was reviewing social media, you know, like last week, an archaeology magazine, which is published and circulated in New York and worldwide. This is the top archaeology magazine worldwide. They had, you know, like on the front page, you know, like some of these mummies discovering in Saqqara that belongs to the 26th dynasty. So really, you know, like this is unique discoveries that we've been, you know, like doing, you know, like every weekend at least. We're coming across like 50 or 100 mummies, and they are beautiful and they look intact like as if they were buried yesterday, you know, like. So worldwide, you know, like this is, you know, like stirring, you know, like passion, you know, like to come back to Egypt to see more. This is one aspect of it. And really, you know, like when I watch world media, I was watching like a German, you know, like TV channel, and someone was talking about fabulous, you know, like bakery and bread. And he says, oh, the yeast, you know, like started when there was an Egyptian baker, he was making bread and he left it for a while and then we have the yeast. So worldwide, whenever, you know, like you watch media, they refer back to Egypt as, you know, like the source of everything nearly in life. So this is, you know, like, of course, you know, like encouraging and motivating. I asked many tour guides, you know, like who have been working hard through this, you know, like pandemic. Some of them, for example, is doing like Zoom conferencing with, you know, like Francophone, you know, like every week they have like about 60, 70 worldwide. They're sitting for like 1 hour or 90 minutes and they're making them a presentation about the, you know, like Saqqara discoveries, you know, like the downtown Cairo, Al-Fustat, the new museum, you know, like the Royal Parade of the Mummies. So tour guides has been involved and working hard. This is one aspect. And all the tourists, they tell them that was a French group. As soon as, you know, like this lockdown will be, you know, like over, you know, like we'll be flying on the first flight to Egypt. And tourism, you know, like analysis, they call this like pent up demand, you know, like people, you know, like are waiting, you know, like they are in like stoked not to travel, but as soon as they have a trip, they are going to come to the country. This is one aspect again. And the amazing thing is during the holidays, this family, they will bring their children, 7 and 8 years old, like in Montreal and Indonesia, to watch, you know, like these Zoom conference presentations about Egyptian civilization. So they're teaching their children, you know, like during the holidays about Egyptian culture and civilization. I've been talking to, you know, like a lot of professional tour guides in Egypt, you know, like, and they tell me, you know, like we have to use this to the maximum. For example, up like next year, inshallah, 2021, like in February or March, we need to hold, you know, like an international global conference where we invite, you know, like directors of museums worldwide. Nearly every museum I've been visiting worldwide, they have an Egyptian collection, which is fabulous and well maintained and displayed and showcased. We need to do this. We need to invite, you know, like the universities, you know, like, for example, they have, you know, like the Italian tourism museum, you know, like Torino. This is a whole Egyptian museum in Italy. So we need to invite the museum directors and staff. We need to invite, you know, like the whole, you know, like universities worldwide that specialize. And then they come here like for 4 or 5 days, you know, like, and visit the site. And then we hold, you know, like seminars and workshops and introduce this to the world. Because when they go back, they're going to research, make more work, and invite, you know, like, and talk to the whole world. This is one aspect you have to do it. Another aspect, some of these, you know, like discovers, like I have like 100 copies. So, as I would imagine, you know, like part of it is going to be kept at the Grand Egyptian Museum. The rest could be, you know, like evenly distributed, you know, like some to Hurghada, some to Sham, some to Fustat. You have 100 coffins plus. Every day you come up with more. So, and then, you know, like I was talking to a tour guide recently and he say, why we don't like do an exhibit, you know, like of this new collection. First, we have to move them to restoration and conservation. And once they are rehabilitated and, you know, like fit, you know, like to be, you know, like displayed, we can do like a tour, you know, like, because these, you know, like have never been seen, you know, like it's just like were dug up, you know, like yesterday, and intact and fabulous. So this is one idea, to hold conferences, and, you know, like we'll have visitors worldwide coming for this. You'll have materials, you have research, you have data, and you can do this, you know, like online and offline as well. And then you can promote the whole area. I was considering that, you know, like Saqqara is the largest necropolis historically worldwide. When I was in LA 99, you know, like it was the eclipse of the millennium, you know what were they telling me? Lots of the Americans, they say, we want to go to Saqqara and buy a piece of land because we love to be buried there. Because they think that at Day of Judgment, the whole universe, you know, like the first place where people will, you know, like will resurrect is going to be in Saqqara, because it's Saqqara necropolis. They want to be close to Zoser and Cheops and Khafre, you know, like the great kings and queens of Egypt. So, I mean, I think, you know, like at one point, you know, like Cairo University and schools, you know, like of archaeology and Egyptology, they have to develop some kind of diploma and call it like Saqqara Egyptology, you know, like academy. And that side, because we have everything, but we don't have knowledge, information, education, and data. Because this is a unique location, you know, like it's irreplaceable worldwide with its history and mystique. Look at Mitrahina, you know, like close by, where you have, you know, like the Serapeum, you know, like for the Ibs, you know, like bull, you know, like it's still amazing. Nobody know how they come to sculpture, you know, like such, you know, like gigantic, you know, like sarcophagus, you know, like for the sacred bull. So you need to have this place, you know, like on year-round basis to accept, you know, like scholars and researchers of Egyptology worldwide to come and stay for 3 months or 6 months and get a diploma, and this is going to be a great benefit for them. They will learn and they will update this you know, like information, and will preserve it, you know. It's going to be a learning site, not only, you know, like a location where missions go and expeditions and dig up and come up with antiquities and show it to the world, you know. We have to do this on perennial basis, not to be like one shot.
Dr. Abdel, you've mentioned many things, the Saqqara necropolis, Mitrahina, everybody knows the pyramids, the Sphinx, Luxor, Aswan. So we have a wealth in this side of the tourism, and also you've mentioned the museums, museum in Sharm el-Sheikh, Gharda'a, also the Grand Egyptian Museum that is still to be inaugurated next year, and it's probably it is the biggest museum in the world for a single culture and treasure. Now, with all of that, plus the museums that have to do with the modern sort of history, the Islamic Museum, the Coptic one, the Air Force one, all of these museums, do you feel that we need to develop and establish some sort of a marketing strategy, especially for these sort of sites and places to go to, not just the beach resorts?
Definitely yes, because, you know, like culture tourism is resurrecting back again, you know, and part of the intangible heritage, you know, like worldwide, according to the UNESCO and the, you know, like all the UN, you know, like associations, organization, educational and cultural. I mean, like Egypt is like the cradle of civilization, and we know this like 10,000 years ago. But really, you know, like whenever you meet, you know, like foreign researchers and scholars, they say, you know, like you have like treasures year round, but so like the embellishing, you know, like the receiving end, you know, like the delivering this is a little bit, you know, like not up to the treasures we have. Like they say, like it's like a diamond in the rough, you know, that we have. So we have to polish, you know, like and make, you know, like our treasures, you know, like more accessible. For example, you know, like I worked with museums worldwide, and the opening hours for any museum in the world is 8 o'clock in the morning. In Egypt, museums open at 9 o'clock in the morning. So I go to a museum and find, you know, like hundreds of Ukrainians, and they're waiting in the courtyard. Why? Because like they are there from like 8 o'clock until 9 o'clock, and these people come from the Red Sea on a coach for 5-6 hours. They spend to like 3 hours. Maybe you go to the pyramids, have lunch, and go back Saqqara. and you keep them idly, you know, like for 1 hour. This is not an international standard, you know. I mean, now you are selling a product like an airline. You know, like when Egypt Air flies, you know, like it's following the IATA and the ICAO. It's not flying its own manuals to be safe and to deliver its passengers from point A to point B. Museums worldwide, like hotels, they have to work according to standards and operating procedures. They open at 8, they close at 8. For example, they say the Sharm el-Sheikh Museum is going to open from 9 to 1, and I don't know where they come up with these ideas, and close from 1 to 5, and open from 5 to 9. I mean, this is, you know, like, could be like when you have your own home and you want to invite people according to your, you know, like lifestyle. But museums don't work that way. So when you have visitors coming from 200 countries and they want to go to the museum at 1 o'clock because they have a flight at 5, or they want to have lunch or go diving in Sharm el-Sheikh, they say, no, no, we close now. Why they close from 1 to 5? Nobody on earth does know. And it doesn't work that way. So if you work in an international industry and living in the 21st century, you have to apply to the norms, tradition, trends, and disciplines. And this have to apply to everything in the travel industry. Museums have to operate up to these standards. This is one aspect. And again, you know, like traffic, for example, you know, like in Cairo, like we have, like, you know, like, thank God, you know, like President Sisi, you know, like is giving us, you know, like all this upgrade in infrastructure. We have the best network of roads now. But still, you know, like some of the roads, you know, like you need to have, you know, like some kind of assistance, you know, when you go. I mean, traffic, you know, like downtown Cairo. I mean, you have a red light and you want to cross, and then a car is going right or left. And I say this because many, you know, like expats who come, they say, you know, like this is not correct, because in their environment, when he sees the red light, that means, you know, like the car will not go and he can safely cross the street. Another one complaint that we don't have entertainment. We have about 20 movie theaters downtown Cairo that has been like, you know, like the wonder and the glory of the world, and they shut down. I see, you know, like visitors, you know, like Arabs come from the Gulf that has been studying and owning houses in Egypt. They go to Grobbi, is not open anymore. They go to Qasr Nil movie, is not open anymore. They have been shut down for 6 years, 7 years. Why? I mean, we're losing revenue and we're losing visitors, you know, like, I mean, he comes to go to a movie and go have like coffee, you know, like something like that.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as Dr. Abdel has mentioned, we are lucky to have all these sort of luxurious tools for the tourism sector, but still a lot of work needs to be done. It needs to start by the actual citizen, really at least abiding by the simple rules to the simple driving rules, for instance. Of course, keeping the precautionary measures regarding the coronavirus, wearing the masks, keeping the social distancing and everything else. It's definitely something to be hopeful for the tourism sector here in Egypt. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. But before we go, I'd like to thank my very distinguished guest, Dr. Yahia Abdel, the Touristic Councillor. Dr. Abdel, always a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for more coming up on Nile International. I'm Hani Saif. Thank you for joining us.